Welcome back. This is now week 3 of our podcast here, The Lost Ledgers, where we discuss our homebrew endeavors with one another every week with a different topic. I am joined here, of course, by Justin to my bottom, Adam
Howdy.
one lower, and Zach all the way at the end there. This week, our homework was pretty interesting as proposed by Adam last week. We had to make just a legendary item, anything that we could think of for this week. And I took a while to actually get some inspiration to make one. Making an item that's legendary is very complicated because there is a too strong for legendary items. Just to make that clear, there is a too strong.
Right, because then it would be an artifact.
I'm hoping to skirt that.
But none of us have played a campaign so far that a legendary item was expected. And whenever we get the legendary items in our games, it's an overpowered item so far. We are level 18 in my campaign currently, so there are a couple of legendary items in the fray, but they haven't really affected anything because they're not that powerful. And not nearly as complex as just your general legendary item, like, say, the Deck of Many Things or something like that. But
You give a paladin the ability to fly.
I mean, a paladin has 3 level slots by that point. I'm not too concerned about it. 4th level slots even. 5th level slots if you hadn't multi-classed. We most of us had a very similar mindset coming into this one, apparently, because everybody but me made a shield this week.
Shields for life.
Shields.
You can see here on the screen currently is Justin's item, his legendary shield, which he vamped for the past week, saying that we weren't going to be ready for it. So I'm really curious about what's going to be happening here. So go ahead and take it away, Justin. Why don't you go ahead and read off the entire legendary items description for us?
So the part that got cut out, that's not on here, or
What?
that's from my...
What'd you cut out? I just copy and pasted what you had in your document.
Oh, well, no, there was I also had the little descriptor of it.
I did not see a descriptor.
That's fine. I'll read it from there. This is a little bit more. Whenever a devout follower of a sun deity completes the trials of the light, they are bestowed a gift that few know exists, and even fewer have been given. Created in forges from the tops of the highest mountains of the world during the brightest days of the year, these shields are a closely guarded secret. So the Sunforged shield is a legendary shield that requires attunement by a cleric following a sun god or goddess. This gold and violet colored double-layered kite shield has a sun rising at the top and serves as a +2 shield with the following properties. Oh, I guess it didn't refresh. It's also supposed to say that it serves... oh, wait, no, I'm not looking at... It'd help if I was looking at the right... I don't want to talk about it! Where did
I just copy and pasted what you gave me, man, and I just double checked it, and I have everything that you gave me on this document right now.
Hold on, I forgot that I was looking. It's fine. It's fine. And acts as a holy symbol with the following properties. Unyielding light. As a bonus action, you can say the command word, and the shield sheds light as if it was under the effects of the daylight spell at 5th level. You can dismiss the effects by saying the command word as a bonus action. Pretty simple stuff. Soul Strike. As an action, you make 1 melee attack with the shield. On a successful hit, the shield does 2d8 radiant and 2d8 fire damage, ignoring resistances, and a creature must succeed in a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC or be stunned until the end of its next turn. Solar Flare. You can cast Sunburst without expending a spell slot once per long rest using the shield. If a creature is in sunlight, then they have disadvantage on the saving throw. For the next minute, you have immunity to fire and radiant damage.
Ooh.
Ah.
I don't know. So, I mean, not to put you down, Justin, I don't know what you thought we weren't ready for here. This is a very strongly themed item that you hit a lot of marks on with the theme that you're going for. And I don't find it particularly broken.
So when
Like-
I'm just saying y'all aren't ready, I'm just saying y'all aren't ready because I'm not ready. Like you think I'm ready? I came in here and I'm just like either I
What
made
does-
this. I came in and I'm like, listen, I added like 2 things. Like I spent like 45 minutes making this. And then the last 5 minutes, I added like 2 or 3 things at the very end. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to send it over the edge or if it's just going to be like in that nice, or if I like balance it like pretty well. But regardless.
One interesting interaction here, though, that I find fun is that with Unyielding Light and Solar Flare, you can essentially just make the situation that gives them disadvantage on their saves against Sunburst.
Right, since daylight is sunlight.
Yeah. I
Wait,
think,
I thought it
actually,
was-
no,
I thought it was
daylight's
supposed to
not
be the
sunlight.
opposite.
I think
Yeah,
it's specifically not, because it's always confusing when people cast this spell. Like, wait, it's not sunlight?
Yeah, daylight is not sunlight.
Let me pull up daylight here, just real quick. 60-foot radius sphere. Put that. Yeah, it doesn't say anywhere here that it is sunlight.
Yeah, that's the daylight
Yeah.
is not sunlight because you can't use daylight on vampires, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, you
that's-
can. It just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I think they ran into that issue on Critical Role, for instance, during the Briarwood arc. I think there was a
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, there was like, wait, daylight's not sunlight, so we can't use them against the vampires? No, you cannot. So then, never mind. I take that back. That is an understandable mistake. Hearing the name of the spell, daylight, to think that it gave sunlight, but it is not actually in reality.
Can you pull back to the item description real quick, Shawn? I wanted
Sure.
to 2d8 radiant and 2d8 fire damage. Okay. Yeah, honestly, like Shawn said, this is a very straightforward item in terms of like you have a like evocative theme and you're just running down the list of like what should a thing with this theme be able to do. But like it's really good. I think this is worth the legendary tag. I mean, hell, an 8th level spell once per day is like basically there on its own. And then you've got nice bonuses in that you've got daylight basically at will, and then the sunstrike. I like this a lot. I think that this hits all the right notes, and it does what I think a legendary item needs to do, in that it tells a story. Like, I think it's pretty boring if you're looking at a legendary item and you're like, I don't know or care where this came from or who wielded it before. But this item definitely tells a story about what kind of person can wield it and what they're going to do with it and what is expected of them, you know?
So
Yeah.
an interesting point too. Daylight doesn't scale with its level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the reason that
it is important that you put the spell level there, because, like, for instance, if someone casts darkness at a higher level,
Yeah.
and that was the main theme that I wanted with that. I was like, I wanted to like illuminate still, and I didn't want to just to have daylight at like on at all times, because who knows, maybe you're actually trying to be sneaky and you don't want to shine a giant beacon where you're at.
yeah.
But overall, I wanted to make sure that you could still have that kind of that like ever-present light wherever you go, and yet it still could be, overdeveloped by higher level darkness spells and stuff like that. But you also can just cast Sunburst and get rid of any darkness spell of 8th level or lower.
Yeah.
Actually,
I like it
that-
all around. Like only. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Sunburst dispels all darkness. No spell level limit.
Oh, well, there we go.
Nice.
So even though it's only an 8th level spell, you can dispel 9th level darkness with it.
Damn.
I was
I
going back
also
and
think
forth.
that with Sunburst, you don't need Unyielding Light, because Sunburst itself gives off sunlight. So when you cast this Sunburst, all creatures that make saves against the Sunburst automatically have disadvantage because they're already in sunlight because of Sunburst.
I think the implication is that it's supposed to be if they were already in sunlight, it's even stronger. Like,
Yeah, but rules is written, your Sunburst would give them disadvantage based on what the shield does.
yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
My only hang up with it was the stunned on Soul Strike. But it does cost an entire action to even do that, so I
Yeah,
kind of just like this all around.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the thing is-
monks get stunning strike on a hit. They could choose to do it when they hit. So this is a mischance. Whereas
Yeah.
a monk can just do it 20 times per short rest they want to level 20, which is around the amount of
Yeah.
times we're talking about a legendary item. So I think stun is a reasonable condition. And I think it's a worthwhile action too because of the stun.
Right, that's the thing. If it didn't have the stun, an action for 4d8 damage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. Like that's about like cantrip damage at those levels. But like, I think that the stun is what really puts it over the top as a worthwhile thing to do.
Yeah,
And
a
I don't
cleric
think-
would have much better things to do with their turn than that action if it didn't stun.
Yeah, that was the only thing that came like alarming me immediately. But I like seeing it as an action and everything that's with it. I think it's fine. I just like it in general.
Yeah,
Another thing too with Soul Strike 2 is because it's because of the way that I have it worded, so that way if you have like a divine strike feature or you have something else that can be added onto melee attacks, you're able to still add your strength modifier. I probably should have made a mention that if you make one melee strength attack.
Well, so one thing that is maybe not intended here, but as you've got it written, attacking with your shield is always an improvised weapon.
Yeah.
Mm,
Do you want them to be able to add their proficiency to this attack?
Yeah.
Because without adding your proficiency to that attack, that is a really risky proposition.
Yeah.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
something I was going
I-
to touch on in a moment.
yeah.
Yeah, it might be worth adding in language in Soul Strike that for the purposes of this attack, you're considered to be proficient with the shield as a weapon.
That's fair. Yeah.
And then yeah, like you said, designate whether or not it takes strength or dexterity or whatever. Maybe even wisdom, honestly. I wouldn't see a problem with that necessarily because it's specifically only for clerics. And again, the game essentially expects you to have a 5 in your main stat by level 17. So like giving them wisdom as their attack modifier is not that big of a deal. Strength might be like a 3 depending on how the cleric built themselves, maybe even a 4. But honestly, that difference between the 2 points isn't going to be too much of an issue when you're fighting monsters that have like 22 AC. Anyway, like you're basically expected at that point as a spellcaster to be casting spells instead of attacking because you're not really meant to have the full bonus. So like this would be a good substitute for any of your spells because you're using your wisdom for it.
I see what the fuck you're doing here.
What?
You
What are you
want
talking
this in my
about?
campaign.
What are you talking about? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
He
gonna lie.
wants Jahan to have this.
when I finished typing it out, I realized I was like, wait, this would be perfect for Jahan to have.
Do you like this shield, Adam?
Why, thank you. Why, thank you, Justin.
Might as well give him the sunblade as well. Just give him
Yeah.
everything.
Well, hold on, let's not run it back too hard now.
No, please, let's run it back very hard in
I
terms of
did-
giving my character all kinds of legendary items.
And sunblade gives off sunlight as well. So
That's true.
Um,
Yeah, Sunblade is explicitly sunlight. Oh God,
yeah, I
man,
think
this is so good.
yeah, I think there's a
I like-
strong flavor theme that's in this weapon. I think it hits on a couple of things that you would expect a legendary weapon of a sun god to do, especially with the sunburst and the daylight spells. I like the soul strike. I think it's a good thing to give legendary items some sort of good action to use that's useful. This one's obviously for combat because it is a shield, but I like this a lot.
I
Yeah,
will say
obviously,
that
as we said, it could use some clarification and maybe some change in verbiage. But other than that, I think it's on track for a good legendary weapon or
I
item.
will say that also to kind of help ease your nerves a bit about the stunned thing, Zach, is that a lot of creatures at higher levels are, especially a lot of legendary creatures, are just immune to being stunned.
No.
Really?
Most of them are immune to being paralyzed, but stunned, no. Stunned is one of the rarest things for creatures to be immune to, because there is that distinction between stun and paralyze. If you name any of the classic CR 20 or higher monsters, they do not have that immunity. Liches, dragons, beholders, none of them have stun immunity. As far as I know, but paralysis, yes, that's a big one, but not
Honestly,
stun.
that makes me like it even more that people like higher level creatures aren't immune to stun because
Yeah.
it's even more useful. I honestly just it being as an action kind of eases my. You have to spend an entire action just to stun one creature.
Yeah.
Kind of that eases.
I'm gonna make a small, possible spoilery reference to anybody who's watching Critical Role right now, or who's watching the second season. So just a warning, maybe cover your ears until I go like this again. Matt Mercer literally adds the stun immunity to his higher level monsters because there aren't enough higher level monsters that are already immune to it because of Mercer Way's monk. He explicitly makes his creatures immune to stun because there's not enough of them already.
What I like doing is giving people items that give them like certain things. So it's not like the creature or whatever it is has it. It's like they have this item that gives them this thing.
So
Yeah.
I looked up what creatures have immunity to stun, and there's only 3.
Yeah.
2 of them are the Lords of Hell from Tome of Foes, and one of them is CR28 Fiend from the Eberron book.
It's extremely rare.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely rare specifically because of the monk ability. They don't want to make that ability feel like a trash ability.
Well, and that's the thing. Stunning Strike is so much of the monk's bread and butter that, like, if there was even a like a CR12 or 15 monster that was immune to stun, people would just throw that against monks all the time because it's like, no, I'm sick of you stunning my monsters. You get a Helmed Horror.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to make sure that we didn't kind of pass over this because this was one of the lot more last minute things that I added, and I was a little bit worried about it. It's how do you guys feel about the immunity to fire and radiant damage for a minute?
I think
that's fine. I mean, the armor and vulnerability. Well, that's not a good example. The armor and vulnerability kind of sucks, to be honest. But like invulnerability to a couple of different damage types, not a good deal at this level. Especially fire and radiant. How many things are immune or resistant to fire already at high levels? And also, like, what the fuck are you fighting that's doing radiant damage at high level unless you're playing like an evil party or like a fallen angel or something? Especially as a cleric, yeah, like maybe a rival god's angel maybe doesn't has like a beef with you or something, but not a lot of enemies for a typical party is going to have radiant damage for it to be a problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fire could conceivably be a problem if you have a red dragon as the big bad of the campaign, but even then I think that the immunity to fire damage just gives you a good leg up on it. Like, you still aren't going to be like having an easy time against an ancient red dragon even if you're immune to fire damage. Like, it's got other things going on.
Yeah, I mean, a dragon's really only going to use its breath weapon when it can get a few of you guys, and if only one of you is immune to it, it's not really going to put any sweat off its back, really. At that point, it's just gonna claw the fuck out of you.
I'm honestly having trouble thinking of an enemy that is like extremely reliant on its fire damage to get like the party down.
Yeah. Honestly, the biggest thing for me that might be controversial is the +2 shield bonus. Because getting a bonus on shield specifically is pretty fucking good. But honestly, unless they have other like magical defenses, which they might as a cleric, a +2 to your shield, giving you a 22 AC on generally, not gonna be that crazy against like a dragon that has a +14 to its attacks. Honestly,
I went back and forth between a +2 and +3, and then I settled on +2 because I was like +3 for like
+3 be pushing it because +3 a +3 shield by itself is already legendary.
Yeah.
So giving it all these other stuff as well is gonna be pushing it.
Shields are one category lower than their corresponding armor. Shields,
really? That's weird to me.
A +3 shield is very rare. +3 weapons and armor +3 weapons are also very rare. Yeah, shields are in the same rarity tier as weapons. Yeah.
All right.
Armor is an extra tier up.
That seems weird to me.
I think particularly because armor, there's a little bit more variety with armor. So, for example, you could have like a +3 studded leather armor, and that's going to be a little bit different than a +3 like plate armor.
Well,
As a-
I think it's actually mainly because you can have somebody who's in heavy armor and doesn't use a shield. Like, the shield is something that only certain builds want, even if you have the proficiency in it.
True.
Like, if you have access to heavy armor, you're almost always going to be using it, barring that
Yeah.
you're doing something weird, like a Dexodin or something. But, like, if you have access to heavy armor, you're going to wear it. Just because you have shield proficiency doesn't mean that you're always going to use it. You might be using a two-handed weapon, or you might just be dual wielding, or you might
Well,
be using
that's-
a bow. Like,
That's an interesting point, because that's part of the reason why I thought it would be at the same level, is because it's a more flexible item to get your bonus from. I think, do magical shields generally already have an attunement cost? They probably do, right? I can't remember off the top of my head.
So there is. I thought that there was another legendary shield. Let me pull it up. There's
do the flat bonus shields have a attunement
Yeah.
cost? That's what I thought.
no. The generic shield does not attune.
So that's
Wait.
why it's interesting to me, because you do have to attune to armor. You don't have
Right.
to with shields, and shields are more flexible because you can put a shield away for a moment if you have to.
Actually, wait a second.
And you get the bonus, just to be clear, you get the bonus for armor on a shield whether or not you are wielding it.
Yeah, you just have to be like holding it. It has to be like
Yeah.
on your person.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Wait, actually, the shield might require attunement because the thing I'm looking at doesn't say that armor requires an attunement.
I have the DMG right here, and I checked it because I was that was part of the, because there's very few shields in the DMG.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out. I was
Look,
like, oh,
I'm not here to say that Wizards is inconsistent, but just look up the Ring of Protection and the Cloak of Protection.
Hey, Justin, it'll be on page 200.
oh no,
Yeah.
none of the shields require attunement,
Yeah.
which is weird.
And you get the just to be clear, you don't get the regular +2 shield bonus, but any magical bonus the shield has, you get that regardless of whether or not you're wielding it.
Yeah.
I actually have one more attunement slot in your campaign then,
You might.
because I have the +1 Lantharian shield, but that's beside the point.
I think I told you that does require attunement, but we can look at it again. All right. I think we've talked enough about this. Besides shields having a weird situation going on with their bonuses compared to armor and weapons, I think that this shield, pretty good legendary item. I think it serves its purpose, part of the story, part of your character build. I think this is great for the theme of a sun-based cleric. But I think we are ready.
Actually, one more thing before we go away from this. It's not super well defined in the book what constitutes your god being a god of the sun, right? So I
Yeah.
think it might be better if you were to restrict this to light domain clerics, or like if you really want to stick with the sun thing, like in terms of mechanics, you might want to restrict it to light domain clerics.
Yeah, but I that's what I thought, but I also
Easy way to fix this. At the end of your attunement, put a comma and then put at the DM's discretion.
There you go. Yeah.
That's because I didn't want to just restrict it to the light domain, because it's like, oh yeah, the light domain would make sense, but what about life domain clerics?
Yeah,
Or
sorry.
Because they
nature domain clerics? Like
because
those.
there are plenty of sun gods that have other domains, like Pelor, for example.
Yeah.
Like Pelor, for example.
Hint, hint.
What was that about Pelora, the goddess of the sun?
Yes, yeah.
All right,
Sure,
so
yeah.
In my campaign.
next up we have Zach's shield that he made. Zach, go ahead and read the name, the attunement, and the entire description of your item, please.
Yeah, so remember that +3 thing. Zar'Gim's Magical Winds Tower Shield. It's an armor shield, legendary, requires attune. This is a +3 shield and gives immunity to force damage. This shield has 2 charges, regaining 1 daily at dawn. As an action on your turn, you create a dangerous area of magical winds in a 30-foot radius sphere extending out from you that lasts for 1 minute. The winds do not move with you. The area of magical winds is heavily obscured to creatures outside of them. It keeps fog, smoke, and other gases at bay. Smaller flying creatures or objects can't pass through the magical winds area. Arrows, bolts, and other ordinary projectiles launched at targets within the magical winds area are deflected and automatically miss. Boulders hurled by giants or siege engines and similar projectiles are unaffected. They can still go through. Creatures in gaseous form cannot pass through. Until the magical winds end, a creature that starts its turn within them takes 1d6 force damage. A creature attempting to enter or leave the area of magical winds must make a strength saving throw DC 20. On a failed save, a creature takes 10d10 force damage and is pushed 5 feet away, or half as much and aren't pushed on a successful save. Additionally, while in the area and the shield is in one hand, you can use a bonus action to teleport up to 30 feet to an occupied space that you can see.
Damn. Okay, so this has like one effect that other than the +3 bonus and immunity to force. I feel like did you take some of this from the wind wall spell?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because I remember you casting that during the battle royale, and it had a similar effect. There's a lot of like caveats you have to work with those things that you can clearly see here with like, giants throw something or siege. Oh, also if there's gaseous form and
that was in the wind wall spell, so that's why I put it in.
Yeah, no, it's just weird to me that they don't have like a more general language to cover those base cases. Because like there's not just gaseous form, there's also like misty form for a vampire. Can they get through?
And windwalk.
And windwalk, yeah. So weird stuff. But I mostly like this. The one thing that it's kind of a small nitpick is that generally with legendary items, their DCs don't actually go above like 19.
Okay.
And the like expectation from the DMG is like 17, which seems low, but
Wait, really?
It's either 17 or, it's either 17 or 19.
I feel like I
for
was looking at
legendary
items today that had a DC of 21.
I didn't say it was a hard rule. The only reason I bring that up is because of like just how much this does. The 10d10 force damage,
a lot of damage,
as well as the immunity to force damage, which makes you immune to disintegrate. I believe is force damage, and the disintegration ray from the beholder. Is it not force damage?
Fire damage.
Disintegrates fire damage?
Wait, no, it's not.
No, it's not. It's definitely.
No?
I'm pretty sure it's force damage. It's either force or necrotic would be the only other one I can think of, but I'm pretty sure it's force.
Oh no,
It's
you're right.
force. It's force.
Why did I
Yeah.
think it was fire? What the
I
fuck is
have
wrong?
no
with me?
idea.
Yeah,
Probably
what the
'cause it
fuck
makes you
is wrong with you,
ash.
Justin?
2 charges. We're getting 1 daily at dawn, so you can at most do this twice a day, or you can at most do this twice in 1 day, not twice a day. The 20 DC is really not that big of a deal. I don't.
My
think
original
it-
thought on the DC was 18, and then because it was legendary, I was like, I'll make it 20. But I don't
Yeah.
know the numbers very well for that.
It varies. I was thinking the DC compared to how much damage it does, and the fact that you get +3 AC and force immunity because of it.
Mhm.
That maybe it might be too high, but otherwise, I generally like this. I do think that. Let me just read this again. I do think 1d6 force damage starting in the area might be low. Honestly.
I originally had it as 2d6. And I lowered it because this is a minute, and it takes a lot. The DC was so high for getting out.
Well, and that's the
And
thing.
Yeah.
You take huge damage if you try to enter or leave the area.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. Even with it being 10d10 to enter or leave, I think you might be able to afford to push this up to 2d6 per turn.
Yeah.
When you start your turn in there.
Yeah, it really kind of, and also something too is, if they fail the save, they get pushed back, and then they're like, "Well, shit, I still got to get in there." And then they
take
try to go.
10 damage though.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is, so perfect. A way that I'm seeing this play out in a multitude set. Let's say that your fighter gets next to like a spellcast or something like that, and or somebody else of importance in the back line, and they use this ability, that kind of squishier backliner is going to want to get out. So they're going to try to get out. They potentially fail, and because they get pushed 5 feet back.
But note, you get pushed 5 feet away. If you try to get out and fail your save, you still get out. You just take full damage.
Oh, I see. Never mind.
Is that the intention, Zach? Because that's my reading.
No, it should be 5 feet away. So if you're trying to get out, you get 5 feet away from trying to get out. If you're trying to get in, it's 5 feet away from trying to get in.
That might be a bit much, because think about this. There's no turn limit on this. There isn't the first time a creature attempts to leave. So if a creature really needs to get out, they gotta risk that 10d10 again. That might be a bit much, though. I think the 10d10, whether you make it or not, might be better.
Just get rid of the 5 or the push away in general. Just because it was supposed to be kind of like a wall that was hard to get through as well.
Yeah. If you want it to be a wall that's meant to like keep things in until like it ends, you might want to either do less damage, or, I mean,
I think
that's a hard one.
I think that if you want it to keep people out and keep people in, you probably need to lower the force damage on an attempt. Maybe down to maybe up to 2d6 a turn, down to 6d10 on entry or exit, and then you could leave the 5 feet in. The thing is, I'm not sure. I'm having trouble coming up with a good word for how to describe which way you're pushed, because you're not being pushed away from the center of it. You're being pushed away from the boundary.
Mm-hmm. That's why.
I was gonna say
this was the best wording that I could find, because
maybe just pushed 5 feet back, because that is relative to the direction you're moving. So if you're trying to move out and you're pushed 5 feet back, then it's back in. If you're trying to move in and you're pushed 5 feet back, it's out.
I would say don't even push them. Just say you failed to pierce the wall or get through.
You just stay where you are. That's actually even better.
Okay.
The way this is going to work is that this isn't going to fill a space. This is going to be theoretically an infinitesimally thin wall that makes a circle.
Yeah.
So they don't take extra damage from starting in that space or anything. It's not like Wall of Fire. So you could just say, on a failed save, you take 60-10 and you fail to enter the wall or something like that.
Fails to enter.
Yeah. Actually, I think there might be verbiage you could use from Prismatic Wall that's similar. Because I think Prismatic Wall has at least one of its layers force you to not be able to get in or something like that. I might be wrong about that, though.
Yeah, I was using Wind Wall and Firewall mainly for word checkage.
Yeah. You could also check Wall of Force, because this is effectively a Wall of Force made out of wind. Though it doesn't stop any magical effects like fire or lightning or something.
And I wasn't sure how much heavily obscured and projectiles like arrows and such not being able to go through it overlapped, but I put them both in there just to be sure.
So heavily obscured gives you disadvantage to attack anything that's in it. Basically, if you're heavily obscured, anyone trying to attack you is blinded.
Well, and they also don't know your location unless they have some other reason to know it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted people on the outside to not be able to see in because of the winds, and also they can't shoot things in there.
Now my question is, to creatures that are inside, they can still see outside perfectly fine, right?
No, because the space is heavily obscured.
Well, because where does it say?
It just says the area of the magical winds is heavily obscured to creatures outside of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
the area is the sphere itself, not the wall.
Yeah, because this would mean that as badass of an ability as this is, that means just a level 2 Misty Step can just get you out. And
honestly, you may just want to remove that language about to creatures outside of it. You may just want the area to be heavily obscured.
So
Because
I would say
I don't want the entire inside to be heavily obscured.
I would say
Only the barrier, really.
I would even say it'd probably be okay to even just add another line that says creatures on the outside look like basically what you have the area of magical winds is heavily obscured to creatures outside of them, and the area outside of the heavily winds is heavily obscured to creatures within.
But if you're doing that, then why don't you just say that the barrier is considered like
Oh yeah, or just consider
heavy obscuration or whatever the correct verbiage would be.
Yeah,
would
I
say-
was just trying to make it accurate verbiage.
to Justin's point about Misty Step, in that particular case, I might as a DM say, no, it clearly says fog can't get through, so I'm not going to let your mists get through either. Because I know Misty Step is a teleportation, rules is written, but its whole thing is that you turn into mist and go there. And I'd be like, that's stretching it a bit.
then third level Thunder Step or fourth level Dimension Door, which at that point,
I think Dimension Door should be able to escape by that point.
But yeah,
but I was looking at Wall of Force specifically, because I think Wall of Force is a lot of the work that's meant to be done here.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You can form it into a dome, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. Each panel must be blah, blah, blah. For the duration, if the wall cuts through, nothing can physically pass through the wall. It is immune to all damage and can't be dispelled. So nothing can physically move through the wall. It wouldn't fix your teleportation problem, if you consider Misty Step a teleportation problem. But,
If I just say the wall is also heavily obscured area.
yeah.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could just say that the boundary of the winds is considered heavily obscure.
Yeah, and then at that point, basically only Dimension Door can get through because you don't need to know where you're going for Dimension Door or see where you're going, which I think would be appropriate. I think Dimension Door should be able to get past this. But like not everything's going to have Dimension Door. So that means the only way you have to worry about people cheesing the damage is by teleporting, specifically with like Teleport or Dimension Door, or maybe even Teleportation Circle, but good luck casting that in the middle of this battle.
While you're taking damage, because you are taking damage at the start of your turn.
I like the idea of this spell a lot. I recognize this spell though has a lot of like things you have to consider, like gaseous form, arrows versus boulders, like all of that. I'd probably be okay with it just like, repelling all projectiles, honestly, because I'm thinking of this as like the like hurricane level speed, which does lift up like buildings and shit. Like,
I did consider doing something with like boulders where like the idea of it deteriorates going through the force of the wall, so it wouldn't go through, or doing less damage. But I didn't. I was already having trouble with verbiage.
I think it might just be fine to like change the projectile language to just say any projectiles launched at targets within the magical winds area are deflected and automatically miss. Like, doesn't matter what the projectile is, doesn't matter who threw it or how hard, it misses.
Yeah.
I will say
that would work also for magical projectiles, which honestly I might be okay with personally.
Yeah.
But
I will say with the DC, so this DC equates to basically like like any caster who has gotten like who's gotten a +6 to their
Yeah, so the DC is equivalent to a caster who has found the tome to increase their casting stat,
or any other maybe homebrew magical item or other reason that they were able to get up to a DC 20.
Yeah, I'd be willing to go down to an 18. I originally had an 18. I just did 20 because it was legendary. I was like, I'll give it 2 more.
I think it'd be okay to drop it even just to 19. You don't have to go the whole go down to 18.
I had a thought about what you could do with this. Instead of being a strength check to get through, make it a charisma save to get through, and you take the damage no matter what. So like the idea is that you buffet the storm, and do you have the physical fortitude to actually get through, or are you forced out through the pain? And either way, you take the damage.
Did you mean Constitution?
What did I say? Charisma?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
charisma.
meant Constitution. Sorry.
Okay, Constitution makes so much more sense. I was like, what the fuck are you thinking, Shawn? Like,
I thought you were like saying that you're imposing your will on this magical storm, and it just like you just go through it. I was like, that's kind of cool, Shawn. But then you started saying like that you like physically like take the abuse. It's like, okay.
I did consider Constitution for a second. I'd be.
I
That
think
makes
strength
sense to me
works.
as
I just
well.
think that's. I think either one could be kind of dope.
yeah.
I do like the idea of not being able to get through it if you fail, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that should stay 100%. You should not be able to get through unless you succeed on the save.
Yeah. And in that case, I think it makes more sense for it to be a strength save. Like, just in terms of whether or not you succeed on the save, determining whether or not you get through. I think that strength makes a little bit more sense here.
Yeah, it does. It does make more sense. It also makes sense, of course, with the caveat of this of that if you are smaller, you just cannot get through. Which fuck halflings and gnomes and kobolds and goblins.
This is not a spell for or a effect that you use for allies. Allies get hurt in this.
Yeah. No. This is I have myself track down this dragon and we're gonna fight to the death right here, right now. Me and them. And I dig that. I like the picture of this spell in an epic battle happening. Like almost like giving a good reason for that epic 1v1 showdown. It's like, why is the enemy army attacking? Like, why are they letting this happen? Just kill the guy. Why are you letting Achilles fight this guy 1v1? Just all shoot Achilles. What the fuck is he gonna do about it? Like that. I like that idea of like giving a good reason for a 1v1.
Yeah. When you first went through this, item, my first thought was immediately, God, I want to see a barbarian just fuck someone's shit up, and they can't do anything about it because what are they gonna do? Run away?
Right. Yeah. Take even more damage by trying to leave. No, I think not.
Is the teleporting too much?
No, I think that's a neat little ability inside of it.
The thing is, if we change it so that the barrier of the winds heavily obscures, then all the teleporting lets you do is move around at will inside of the area.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Which I think is fucking awesome.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I think that's dope.
I don't think the teleport should be able to move you out of the area and just leave someone stranded there. I think you should just be able to like move with the wind anywhere inside the area.
Yeah, well,
I want to ask
close.
I want to ask you
anywhere because it is a 30-foot radius.
Yep.
So pretty close to anywhere that you want as a bonus action. Hell, you could even choose. You could even like.
Well, but also it doesn't make anything difficult terrain, so you'd still have your movement after that.
Well, I was even just gonna say something along the lines of you could use half your movement.
No, it's a legendary item.
Don't want to
fucking
teleport.
use half my movement to teleport with it, especially not such limited teleport as within this area.
that'd be better than a bonus action.
Yeah,
What do you mean? You're moving 30 feet for the cost of likely 15, maybe 20.
I think I'd rather have it be the bonus action. I don't like the use half your movement thing. Like,
Why? I don't understand why you don't like that. Do you just not like the fiddliness of it, or do you not like?
Yeah, I kind of hate movement as a cost in general.
Interesting.
Like, I think it's stupid that's the cost for standing up. That's the cost for getting on a horse. I don't like that.
Interesting.
So I think this might just be me reacting because of that. But like, no, I'd much rather have this be a bonus action than spend half my movement.
I think movement as a cost isn't used enough, personally. I think that there's a lot of room for movement to be used for like interesting things to do in your turn, besides just defaulting to a bonus action. So that's an interesting perspective.
Bonus action.
I think it's fine either way. I was just surprised by Adam's vitriolic objection to the idea of using 15 feet of movement for 30 feet of teleportation.
Absolutely not. Fuck no.
Especially considering
I have two questions for you, Zach. Did you give immunity to force on this so that you would not be affected by the effect itself?
Yeah.
All right. because for me, the biggest thing on this one that seems to put it over the top would be the bonus and the immunity to force damage. You could just have as part of the effects, you are not affected by this force damage. Like,
it could
Target
just say
is unaffected
other creatures. Well,
Yeah.
no, just say other creatures.
Oh, true.
and the other question I have for you
I'd
is,
be fine with that.
why did you go to force over slashing?
I wanted it to be magical because they're magical wins.
Well, there is magical like slashing.
You can have
piercing,
magical
bludgeoning,
slashing damage.
Yeah.
but
Mm.
but I will say, I don't know how many creatures or how many monsters do get just straight up resistance to magical piercing and slashing. I know a lot get it to non-magical, but I don't know if there are other
There's
ones.
not a lot for magical itself. A lot of them are usually like non-magical. It's a very rare resistance and or immunity. The only creature I can think off the top of my head that would have immunity, or not immunity, but resistance to magical would be the either the angry or the lonely Sorrowsworns, because they just have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing while in darkness, I believe, or something like that.
Something along those lines.
So I don't know
I just
how
like
many.
the idea of force better.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it really matters too much one way or the other, because whether it's magical slashing or force, very few things are actually immune or resistant to those things, so it has the same kind of effect.
Yeah. I just like the idea of force better because I thought about slashing, but I just liked force more. But I'm
Yeah.
fine with getting rid of the immunity to force. I thought that was strong.
It's not particularly strong because force damage
It
itself.
is. It
How
is.
often-
You
A
can't
lot
get hit
of-
by magic missile anymore.
You can't hit by magic missile, but also like there's a lot of in-game enemies who have like kill you with force damage abilities.
Really?
Like, yeah, the Lich knows Disintegrate. The Beholder obviously has the Disintegration Ray. Pretty much any high-level mage is going to have Disintegrate to kill you with, because it's an auto death that gets you to 0, and it does a shit ton of damage. It's like one of the default spells for high-level in-game mage characters. I'm not saying that has to be the case, but it often is the case because of its, grim reality of like, this thing will kill you. And then there's another creature I can't think of the name of, or I know there's another creature that does force damage, is like one of its like key features. I just can't remember what it is, but
No, I thought force damage immunity might be too strong.
If that's the case, maybe bring it down to resistance.
No, I would just take it off. I would just
Yeah,
make it like Adam
yeah,
said
just-
and say other creatures in the area.
All right,
Yeah.
fine. You've convinced me.
yeah, I think the big thing in this item is the action, this badass bubble. And I think you can either do a +3 shield or immunity to force. I'm not a fan of having both.
That's fair. That's fair.
But
If I made it just like a regular shield with just immunity to force. I
That
like
could-
+3 better though. So
Honestly, the +3, I think in my mind fits better with the theme of this kind of being a more 1v1
yeah.
style.
True.
And,
I
then
like
just, and then just add the caveat of other creatures will be affected by it, but then you won't be.
yeah.
I like that.
All right.
Although there is one interesting thing that brings up, because if you're unaffected by it, but you're losing the 1v1, maybe you can't run away.
I mean, it's
But-
the risk you take.
Wait, why can't you run away?
Well, No. So if we
You mean if you're not immune to it? You mean?
well, because I assume you're going to be immune to the force damage, but more or less, will you still have to? I guess my question is, will you still have to make the saving throw in order to leave?
Oh, right. That's the thing. If you
I would
don't
say no.
change it, yeah, I don't think you should have to. But actually, as written, the way it is right now, you do have to make the save. You just
To
don't
get
take
out.
the damage either
Yeah,
way.
that's true.
Yeah, I like the idea of not having it. You do it. So
Yeah,
I like in general just changing it to other
Yeah.
creatures.
Yeah,
No,
but to me,
that's fair.
what this spell is doing is, have we all watched Jujutsu Kaisen?
Nope.
All
I
right.
have.
Did I watch that a
It's-
little bit with you? I think I did.
This is creating that penultimate ability where it's like, this is my area.
You're right.
I am in control here, and you will get hit no matter what.
Right.
That's
Okay.
what
Yeah.
this is. What is that called? I forgot.
I cannot remember the name of it, but
yeah,
I know what you're talking.
domain.
Domain, yeah.
This is your domain. Your enemy is going to get hurt by it no matter what, and you have full control. This is an extension of yourself. So I think that's also flavored with the teleportation. You are one with these winds.
Yeah.
So like you not being able to escape would be kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It also specifies that it doesn't follow you, which I think, I mean, you could just make a cage for something for a minute, which would be dope.
So the verbiage of it extends from you, is it supposed to make it like is enough for you to know that it doesn't move with you? But I threw that in there just so that like it was clear.
Yeah,
Right,
wasn't
yeah,
sure
no,
if there was
I
a
think
better way to
it's
word
always
that.
good to clarify stuff like that, because if you
Yeah.
don't say one way or another, people will just
I can-
assume whichever way they want it to work. Like,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't want it to be a walking ball that you moved around and just did 10 force damage to people. Like
yeah.
it
Oh, yeah,
stays in
for
the
sure.
area that you started at.
I think one thing too that
All
I'm
right,
still
Sid. Look, the weeb is talking shit.
I think the one thing that I still have a little bit of this, and this just might be because of how it recharges. Because I wouldn't think that it'd be too bad to be able for it to recharge both at dawn.
I think that this ability is powerful enough that once a day is probably fine, but you can use it twice in a pinch. Like,
I also think that there's probably not going to be as many opportunities as you maybe would like or think in order to be able to use this properly without kind of fucking over your allies.
That's kind of why I gave it the +3 and the immunity. Because even if you're unable to use the ability, because it is a harsh ability to your allies, you still have +3 in immunity.
I think
it just having a +3 is enough to get that across, though.
That's
Because
fair.
who's gonna turn away a +3 shield when they have no other better options? If I
Yeah.
had this, if I had this with a +2 and a +3 shield, I would choose this because it gives me more options in combat and it's badass. And I think that's partly necessary for legendary items, is for it to feel fucking cool to use. That's why I never want to give away just like, oh, you get a +3 weapon or like a +3 armor or something like that, because it's boring as fuck. I want to give you a +2 armor that has a badass, or a +1 armor that has a badass ability. I want you to feel cool in combat, not just like this passive thing. Specifically, I want to give you features in combat, things that you can explicitly do that is unique to you, or makes you more than just, I have a shield on me. So I think this ability is passes all of those tests, and I think if we just got rid of the immunity of force, it wouldn't be too much worse for it, but it also wouldn't feel a little broken.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick because I've been holding it in for like 20 minutes.
Sure. I think we can move on from this one. We had a lot to say about it. It's another one where I feel like the flavor helps it out a lot. I think mine is up next. It is. Maybe we could start with chat real quick until Justin gets back, because I don't want to move on to a new item while he's gone. I wish he'd have done that while we were talking about that one still. The bastard.
yeah. So do I. But you can't always get what you want.
I hope I wonder if this fits his lore, for the lore that he gave to the shields. I wonder if all 3 of our shields are gonna fit the beginning lore that he gave.
I don't have his lore typed out, so I don't even remember what it was. Like, if only he had given it to me and then not blame me for not having it.
Yeah.
I am excited to write up the lore for this when I post the thing, because I have 3 shields and it makes it pretty easy to like give an idea of where these came from or something.
Yeah.
Kick his ass, Sid. Justin does deserve a little bit of an ass kicking. It's true. I told myself last week when you made up this idea, I was like, I'm gonna read every legendary item, and then I didn't.
Oh my god.
There are quite a few of them.
There's quite a few. There's almost 100. Justin,
What?
Take your bathroom breaks while we're talking about an item. I don't want to introduce a new item when someone's gone.
Listen, I was giving you guys the opportunity to have your closing statements on Zach's item.
We
already made
we
our
finished the
closing
closing statements,
statements.
and then you went to the bathroom.
I don't. You know what? Nope.
All
I'm
right.
abstaining.
The next item is my item. The Ring of Unyielding Presence. Ring.
Wait.
Oh.
Oh, you're scrolling down now. Okay, cool. I thought that you'd just forgotten to scroll down, and I was like, wait, no,
Oh, no.
we need to see it.
You're on a little bit of a lag. Ring, legendary, requires attunement. While wearing this ring, your state of being is absolute. You are immune to any spell or effect that would alter your form against your will. You cannot be forced to teleport or be transported to another plane of existence. You can turn incorporeal as an action. Anything you are wearing or carrying is incorporeal with you. You remain incorporeal until the ring is removed, until you attack or cast a spell, or until you use a bonus action to become corporeal again. While incorporeal, you gain the following benefits. A fly speed of 60 feet. You have a resistance to all damage except psychic, force, and damage dealt by magical weapons. And you can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. You take 5 or 1d10 force damage when you end your turn inside of an object. I really should have written that as 1d10. I don't know why I put the 5 there. I'm just used to doing that as a DM. If you occupy the same spot as a solid object or creature when you become corporeal, you are immediately shunted to the nearest unoccupied space that you can occupy and take force damage equal to twice the number of feet you were moved. While you're wearing this ring also, you automatically succeed on death saving throws. If you die, you cannot become undead unless you choose so, and if a spell such as Raise Dead has the effect of restoring you to life, the caster doesn't need material opponents to cast the spell on you.
It's a bit late. Raygon's died 4 times.
So one problem with that last paragraph is that technically dying unattunes you from your items.
Oh, does it? I did not know that.
Yes, dying unattunes you from your items. But I mean, you could just say if you die while attuned to this item, X.
Yeah. That'll work.
I like this. I like
this
the idea of not being able to be teleported or moved or changed at all.
Yeah, well, and I like that you give it like the immutable form text. That, like, what is it? Iron golems have that.
Yeah, all
like,
the golems have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the abilities on this were like, this monster does this, and I just copy and pasted it.
Yeah.
Which might actually be why the 5 1d10 force damage thing is there, because I got that from the ghost.
I was gonna say, isn't that like the text for how vampires do their like misty move?
No.
It's just generally if a ghost, while they're incorporeal, if they stop in your spot, if they end their turn on your spot, they take damage. But they don't get shunted or anything. They just take damage.
So why do you have it an action to go incorporeal, but a bonus action to come back?
That way, you can use your action doing something else. Maybe you can help someone while you're incorporeal, something like that. This is actually that's exactly how the Ring of Invisibility works as well. It's an action to go invisible, but a bonus action to come out. And that text is basically exactly from the Ring of Invisibility.
Also, you could as an action become incorporeal, go through a wall, and then use your bonus action to become corporeal again.
Yeah, you could do all one turn.
That's true. Yeah.
I just like the idea of like your place in the world is entirely under your control, and you can't be stopped by magic or physical walls or objects getting in your way. You could be anywhere you want, and you cannot be anywhere you don't want to be. Because now you can't get banished, and you can't. Are there any spells that forcibly teleport you? I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I think Gate might.
Gate might. Yeah, Gate does.
I think you can also do it with plane shift. I think you can.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you can. You can do that with plane shift. You're right.
And then I think that there's also one of the modes on imprisonment that does that.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, while you're wearing this ring, if you draw Void from the deck of many things, you're unaffected.
Hell yes. Incredible.
See, I like this a lot. I I just like that idea a lot.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest. I think the incorporeal, like when you're incorporeal, I think at least when it comes to more combative purposes, it is decent. It's not super strong. The fly speed is nice.
It's not good in combat at all.
It is. If you are a caster, you can cast a spell that you concentrate on and then become incorporeal.
Sure.
And then if you're damaged by anything, then you're able to make your con saves easier. They're always half as high.
Oh, so one thing here, for the resistances while you're incorporeal, you said you've got resistance to damage except psychic, force, and damage dealt by magical weapons. Did you explicitly leave out spells there? You wanted magical weapons to hit you, but not spells?
Well, the thing with spells is that they deal a damage type. So if I guess you're right. If, for instance, you cast blade wall or something like that, what's that spell called? Does that say it's explicitly magically slashing damage?
I mean, it doesn't have to state it. It's slashing damage from a spell, so it's magical.
Well, then, yeah, then I'm not running into...
It's not dealt by a magical weapon. It's dealt by a spell.
Right, that's... Okay, you double backed me there, because I was using that spell as an example of something that rules is written, this would not... or this would resist. And you're like, oh, it doesn't have to say that. I'm like, wait. And then I convinced myself that it would resist. But yes, I did not think of that. So that is something I should update.
Blade Barrier is the name.
Blade Barrier, that's what it is. That's something that I did not think of. I was just thinking about how enemies tend to have their resistances lit out. They say non-magical weapons usually. So that's something I think might be worth editing, because it's not meant to resist slashing and all that from spells, because that's magical damage.
But it is supposed to resist, like, the damage from fireball.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's what you want it to do here, then I think that this is the right way to work. Oh, wait. So what you might want to have it say instead is you have resistance to all damage except psychic, force, and magical, bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing.
That'd be better, yeah.
Rather than just
better.
saying magical weapons, magical, bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing.
Yeah. This would also have the side effect of if your weapon deals fire damage, you would not resist that.
Right,
Because you would take the damage from all of the weapons damage types.
Yeah,
that'd
that
be
was
a better
actually going
correction.
to be. That was actually going
Yeah.
to be my follow-up question. Was, is this supposed to keep the fire damage from Flame Tongue intact? So,
No.
Okay, cool.
So I'll have to fix that.
Honestly, I don't really have any, like, other than that. I don't really have any notes here. Like this really just nails the fiction, like, of the unyielding presence. Like, I am exactly where I mean to be at all times. Like,
Yeah.
Dude,
And
this
I
with the
like it a lot.
shield of wind.
incredible. Oh god.
I like this. I like this a
Um,
lot. Unfortunately, I don't have many notes on it because I just really like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like this just reads so well to me. But like I said, the change to the resistance wording and the fact that it should say if you die while attuned to this item, like those are my only two things, and those are
Yeah,
both
definitely.
super nitpicky.
So I'll tell you why I love this item. Okay,
Okay.
because I fucking hate polymorph. You cannot be polymorphed with this on.
Yeah.
You can't be.
Now be careful, Zach, because if you start dropping this item left, right, and center in your campaign, we're gonna start getting it.
It's fine,
Yeah,
no
just-
polymorphing each other. Dude, it has the added benefit of if you have it on, your teammates can't polymorph you. Great.
It does not have that. It says you are immune to any spell or effect that would alter your form against your will.
Yeah,
Fuck.
that's the thing. People can still polymorph you if you
Erase
are
it.
willing.
Get rid of that. That's my gripe with this, is that you can choose to.
Honestly, that would be kind of
You would give us all of these benefits just so we can't polymorph each other.
Yep.
Honestly, that would be an interesting effect of a cursed item. Like, if
It
you
would be,
only
yeah.
gave it the immutable form text, but also did not say against your will, just like, no,
Yeah.
you cannot be altered in any way. Like,
Let's be
Curse.
honest.
That would be a fun
Zach-
way to curse this.
Zach just has insane PTSD from his last campaign where
Yes.
You just kept polymorphing our
It's-
barbarian.
It's not a
into
joke.
giant gorilla.
PTSD is not a joke.
We all know polymorph is an overpowered spell. You should not be able to turn into a monster that is effectively like 8 times stronger than you. Because
And you
of,
especially should not be able to turn your barbarian into something.
yeah.
Ugh. No,
But
I love this. I absolutely love this. I love the idea of not being able to turn into stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. There's a type of creature in D&D that they don't really go into very much in 5e. The most they did was in Mordecai's with the Marut, or was that Volos? Called the Inevitables.
In Mordenkainen's. Yeah,
Is it in Mordecai's? All right, yeah.
I think so.
Called the Inevitables, and I just had that idea of like you. My initial idea for a weapon was actually going to be kind of the opposite in a way, where I wanted an object that allowed you to just break the laws of physics to like what you wanted it to be, and somehow they got morphed into no, you are instead the pinnacle of consistency. Like there are laws that cannot be broken when it comes to you. And I don't know how that ended up changing. I think it's because the idea of like being able to break the laws of physics is very broad, so I couldn't narrow it down. So I was like, I need something that's specific to you, because this doesn't have anything that allows you to like impose something onto others. It is just you. This is all about you, and it deflects anything that is going to go to you. It's a very passive item.
So I do have one question.
Sure.
More of a clarification. Would this prevent you from being petrified by, say, a Medusa stare or a Basilisk stare or a petrification rate from Beholder?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I would
those would work on a
is an
goal.
alteration to your form, so
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured, but I thought to let's clarify it, because there are people out there that are totally not me that would be thinking that. It's just I want to just make sure that they know.
Yeah,
people
for sure.
named like Fustin, for example.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Bustin.
Bustin, yes.
Yeah.
Bustin, Justin's cousin.
Yeah. It's Justin, but only if Justin were bussin'.
Right, yeah.
He'd be buzzing.
Bro.
Thank you for banning bots, Sid. Miguel says this item is spicy. That's all I need to hear. All right. I mean, we all had a pretty straightforward reaction to this one, so I'm more than happy to move on from this. To our final shield of the evening, as created by our resident Adam here.
Shields
Adam,
are just the best, okay?
Adam, why don't you go ahead and take over Bulwark here?
All right, so we've got Bulwark. It's armor. It's a shield. It's legendary, and it requires attunement. It's a heavy ceramic tower shield with steel bands across its face. Bulwark is imbued with magic from the elemental plane of Earth.
I'm gonna pause you, Justin. This is where you put your flavor text in like the actual, so that I can see it and copy and paste it. Sorry, you can go ahead.
While holding this shield, you have a +3 bonus to your AC, resistance to bludgeoning damage, and have advantage on saving throws against effects that would cause you to be moved against your will. Bulwark has 10 charges for the following properties. It regains D8 +2 expended charges each dawn. Intercept. When a creature that you can see within 10 feet of you takes damage from an attack, you can expend 1 charge to reduce the damage the creature takes by 1d10, causing chunks of earth to launch forth from Bulwark, interfering with the attack. And spells. While holding Bulwark, you can use an action to expend 1 or more of its charges to cast one of the following spells from it, using a spell save DC of 20. Investiture of Stone for 5 charges. Wall of Stone for 4 charges. Stone Shape for 3 charges. Erupting Earth for 2 charges. Earth Bind for 1 charge. Or Earth Tremor for 1 charge.
I love
that you both made shields based on elements that are opposite of each other.
Yeah,
That's
it's kind
pretty
of
wild.
perfect. Yeah.
It's funny that you both also made it +3 AC and DC 20 as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I honestly, 20 was just the number that I picked because, like, I was looking at other legendary items, and the 2 that I looked at that had spell save DCs, one of them was attunement by a wizard, so it just uses your DC, and the other one was 21, but it's also cursed. So I was like, well, I'll make it 20.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily broken about being 20. This is a fun. I like being able to cast all these earth-based spells, of which there's not a lot.
I was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel to get you this many spells, because I've got first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth level spells. So I've got one of each level from 1 to 6, but like there's not a ton of options at most of those levels.
I think the biggest issue with earth spells is that normally they're good they're good in the situations that they're good at, and then not really the greatest.
Justin, that's true of anything. It's good in the situations where it's good, but it's bad in the situations where it's bad.
The thing is,
do you mean to say there's very few situations where it's good? Okay. It's niche is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, niche. I'll give you that the earth spells tend to be niche. Although Wall of Stone, super flexible.
Like
I love this.
Earthbind, correct me if I'm wrong, Earthbind is the spell from Xanathar's where you essentially like reach out to a flying creature and you're like, no, you're not allowed to move.
I don't know that it's from Xanathar's, but that's correct.
Yes,
it reduces their flying speed to 0.
Yeah, okay.
Which is super situational, I'll give you. But there's not a ton of earth spells at level 1 and 2.
I love Earthbind, and I think Earthbind's awesome on like having it on an item and not having to prepare it, honestly. I try to find any scenario where I can prepare Earthbind because I think it's so good in certain situations.
Yeah, that's
why they're so rare. So having the ability to use it, but also having the ability to do all of these other things, I like it.
That's where I was going with this, was that I wanted to like really like hammer in the fact that these spells, you usually feel bad when you prepare them or you take them because they usually don't come up a whole lot. But having them just ready at all times from this item, and you can choose which ones, that feels really good with these spells.
That's the thing. It doesn't really matter that they're niche because you basically have them all for free. Yes. And you can just use those charges to protect some of your friends from damage or yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. I will say, because there's also the intercept fighting style.
Yes, this is almost word for word the intercept fighting style. This doesn't add your proficiency bonus, and it doesn't cost your reaction.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking. Is that maybe reaction, but then also if you are just expending your charges willy nilly, you'll be gone.
If you're willing to blow all your charges on eating up damage, go for it. I'll let you use all 10 charges from your legendary +3 shield to eat on average 55 damage.
Yeah, I also like that this. I also like the other effects that the shield has for yourself with the resistance to bludgeoning damage. There's not a whole lot of things out there that just gives you resistance to one of the 3 physical damages without cursing.
Yeah.
And then the advantage on saving throws is nice because it's not super niche, but they're not common that these effects tend to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. Effects that push you or pull you are not coming up all the time, but when they do come up, they can be kind of a nuisance. And so I thought it would be cool to have that just sort of tacked on to this legendary item that's all about just sort of standing in one place and holding fast, like...
What's interesting too is just thinking of the different classes and like how they would kind of utilize this. So like thinking like, oh, a fighter is now able to cast some spells, or let's have a paladin with some spells that they might normally not get. But then there's also just a thought of like a druid just using the shield.
Do druids have shield proficiencies?
They do, but they can't use metal shields. But yes, they do have shield proficiency.
It doesn't say can't, it says won't. It says they won't use metal. Which is such a fucking stupid way to word that. God damn it, wizards.
They won't.
But yes, they do have shield proficiency.
Okay.
So I'm pretty on board with this. I think that the intercept's it's not this grandiose ability like the wind bubble. And I think that these spells, I think because they are so niche and they do cost a relatively high amount compared to intercept, of your daily usage, I don't think this is going to really push it beyond being too strong. I'd say that these spells are probably about as niche as the Wind Bubble, but the Wind Bubble is so much more devastating when it is good. And pretty much everything about this is niche besides the +3 AC and the bludgeoning damage. The Intercept could be a little bit more popular. I guess popular is the opposite of niche. A lot more frequent. But
10
I like the
feet's
idea.
pretty nice.
Yeah, I like the idea of maybe you're the cleric, like up there with the tank fighting the dragon, and the dragon has like 1 billion attacks in one turn. But each of those attacks, if you want to, can be reduced by about 5 to 6 damage, which is saving that person about 25 HP. Because it doesn't use a reaction, I'm okay with like the damage amount. My inclination would have been maybe a little bit more reduction, but
my first draft of this, it was 2d10, but it used your reaction, and I felt like I wanted it to be able to protect you all of the time. I wanted you to be able to do it every time someone got hit. It doesn't matter if you've got the reaction left. All that matters is that you've got charges in the shield.
Yeah, and I think this will honestly be the ability you're using most often with the shield. Like when I'm thinking, if I had the shield in my party, and I'm thinking about who's going to take the shield, or whether or not I want it, I'm going to be thinking about how often I'm using Intercept. I won't be thinking so much about the spells.
Right, because the spells are nice. They're a nice thing to tack onto it, but the meat and potatoes here is really Intercept.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it.
I love it. I think that it could maybe have a couple more charges, but
I'm gonna be perfectly honest here. I pulled these numbers out of my ass. I just made up numbers, and I was like, let's say that for the spells, the charge is 1 less than the spell level, and then we'll give it enough charges to do the biggest one twice. Sure, whatever.
Well, because I know that there's other items that have like these charges and stuff like that, but those are usually for like they're designed to be given to a full caster, not necessarily a shield given to a fighter.
You become when you have this, you become a version of the 4 ways monk for Earth. That's better than the 4-way monk for Earth.
Okay, let's be honest though. Let's be honest. You can be better than the 4 ways monk, like almost with anything.
Yeah,
you can be better with the 4 ways monk as a drunken hand monk with cool items. Like
I'll probably when we do the like consolidation for the post, I'll probably play around with these numbers a bit and like kind of look at the other legendary items, because I know there's some legendary items that do cast spells. Like I think there's like a staff of like
there's the black
staff or something. Yeah,
the black staff. Yeah, that's actually what I was looking at for these for the wording on casting multiple different spells with the same charge bank.
Yeah. Another thing I'll have to do is create homebrew spells for these spells that are not part of the SRD. So that we can include them in the document. But I like this a lot. I think it's another one that's really hitting home its like flavor. It's you are a bulwark. You're what you're doing is defensive, and you are embodying Earth to do that, to become like the rock for your party.
Thinking about
I like it a lot.
Thinking about it a little bit more, I think the +3 might need to go down to a +2.
Fuck no, +3. You are a bulwark. You are the thing that stands between your party and annihilation. +3 or nothing.
Well, this is balancing.
I could see it up being a +2, because in the instance for this one, there's so much more utility, like general utility than there was.
A lot more.
And you have resistance to bludgeoning damage, which just flat resistance, which isn't necessarily broken, but it is.
That's a lot of damage.
It's a nice bonus.
Yeah, the dragon's tail's not hurting you as much. You can't be stomped on as much. Yeah, giants are hurting you as much. So
Unless the giant uses a sword.
I could see I know why you chose 3, and it makes sense why you chose 3, but for balancing reasons, I could see it being 2.
Yeah.
Now,
Maybe
this was
making
a
it 2.
knockback.
I would much rather like cut off some of the spells than take it down to a +2 bonus.
Makes sense.
I don't know. I think I like. I think I like.
The spells don't make me want it to be down to +3. It's the fact that you're going to be using intercept so often.
Yeah, intercept's the bigger one. Because you're effectively, I mean, if you wanted, you could use all those charges for yourself.
Yeah.
So you not only are getting resist bludgeoning damage, but you are getting a reduction to most damages that you're taking if you're fighting like any weapon to creature with bludgeoning, slashing, piercing, whatever. It's only 55 damage in a day though, and that's on a good day because you're only getting 1d8 +2, which is on average 7.
Well, also assuming that this is just going on like a fighter. I didn't do it. It's that the AC is probably going to be 23 with just
it's probably gonna be
plate mail.
24 because the defense fighting style.
Yeah, and that's not including, you know, a ring of protection, cloaks of protection, shield of faith, things like that to like really bump that AC up even higher. Like that's why I think the +3 is
Okay, but as we established, a +3 shield on its own is only a very rare item.
true.
So, what we're asking, does everything else on this list constitute the difference from very rare to legendary?
Okay. Well, I mean, we recognize that Wizards has made a decision about rarity.
I agree with Wizards on that decision.
I don't.
think that a +3 shield should be a tier lower than +3 armor.
I agree with that on weapons as well.
Strong disagree, because a shield, again, you do not have to be wielding it to get the bonus. So a +3 armor you must be wearing, and it's harder to take on and off. And I think a shield should be at least as effective or as rare as armor. Personally, if we're using armor as a base, shield should be at least as rare, because it has so much. So here's the thing: you can wear any armor you want and get that +3, sure. But you can also wear any armor you want, not be proficient in shields, and carry a shield on you without attunement, and get that +3 bonus anyway.
Well, this does require attunement.
This does. That does bring it down a little bit. But I just think for the basis of just vanilla shields and armor, I think that was a huge oversight on Wizards' part, personally.
I think you just shouldn't get the bonus from the shield unless you're
right.
using...
But we're talking about rules as written shit.
Yeah.
And rules as written,
But
you do.
I think that's the rule that should have been changed, not the +3 shield is legendary or very
That's fair.
rare.
But I'll also say that I think the fact that you don't have to attune to it and you can take it on and off itself is also more flexibility than armor can give you. Because with the +3 shield, also you can switch between loadouts if you have more than one fighting style that is useful in a combat for your character.
I also just kind of wanted to look back at the other 2 shields, because, you know, this was a shield party, and apparently Shawn and like,
yeah, looking back on Zax, for instance.
Yeah, looking back on Zax, where we're like, I think the +3 is strong because of the immunity to force damage, but then he only just has the one other effect with it to essentially he's got the one effect, and it's really strong. He might not be able to really get to use it all the time, so the +3 does help kind of counterset that. You're going to be able to use intercept nearly whenever you want. You have these spells that you can use when their niche situations pop up. Going back to my shield, and one of the reasons why we kind of agreed that it's better for it to be staying as a +2 instead of it being a +3. It's got one kind of passive thing with, you know, with a light source.
Right, you've got Daylight at Will plus the 8th level spell.
Yep, plus the 1/8 level spell.
Wait, Sunburst is 8th level? I thought it was like
Yeah.
6.
No,
No.
Sunburst is 8th level, dude.
Sunbeam is 6.
Oh, I was thinking of Sunbeam the whole time.
Trust me.
Sunburst is also Xanathar's, so you'll have to come up with a fake homebrew spell for that too.
Is it? It showed up on Roll20 when I looked it up.
No, it's not. Sunburst is a PHP.
Wait,
Yeah,
what the fuck
it's
am I
SRD.
thinking of? What the fuck am I thinking of then?
I don't know, maybe Sunbeam. maybe you did what I did. It's funny 'cause
I would say you keep it as a +3 if you make it a reaction for intercept, but it's 2d10.
Yeah. I
mean, that would-
Otherwise, I think it's a +2 shield.
I like being able to I would personally like being able to use it more, and I'll blow through those like as much as I want to, and have the +2 rather than getting the little bit extra oomph of protection and having a +3. But that's my personal take on that.
I would do almost anything to this to keep it as +3. Like
That's why I
that
gave my
is-
suggestion.
that is really critical to me for this shield. I think it
That's
really
fair.
needs to be a +3 shield. Like,
Trust me, that's how I felt about my shield as well.
Take
Yeah.
it from someone who loves being an AC slut. I would love a +3 shield. I would love it. I just don't think that this is balanced for it to be a +3.
I think
You'd have to trim it down quite a bit, I think, in order for that +3 to feel.
I don't think that this is like particularly. I don't think that this is that much stronger than most legendary items. Like, I don't think this is as strong as you guys are saying. I disagree.
I
It
think
is
disagree.
only a d10. I could leave it as a +3, and it's just a strong legendary item.
I think that
Maybe
would go-
lower the DC if it's a +3.
I think we could lower the DC for it, but then again, what we said earlier, you're not going to probably really be using the spells for it too often. You're going to be using intercept more. But once again, there's not really a lot of legendary shields for us to go off of
Yeah,
for balancing purposes.
the only legendary shield is. It's not exactly cursed, but it's basically cursed.
So it's very difficult for us to be able to, because this +3, it's one of those things for where when we look at like the full like this shield as a whole, the strongest thing is the resistance to bludgeoning damage. The second strongest thing, that was a joke.
Of course.
Obviously, the strongest part about it is that +3 to his AC. I think the next strongest thing is the resistance to bludgeoning damage, and then the intercept, and then the spells. So the way that you want to kind of look at it to nerf it, you're just trying to nerf it at its weaker points and not its stronger point.
You know what? I'm gonna switch sides. I'm with Adam. Keep it a +3. Just make it a strong legendary shield.
Could also just give it a +3,
So,
make it a strong legendary shield. But
I think that this can pass as legendary as it is. I do think it is scratching the top a little bit.
I'll give you that. I think that this might be a little bit closer to artifact than very rare.
But as a, I know as a basis as rules is written, a +3 shield is only very rare. And in fact, a arrow catching shield, which in of itself is already +2, which should just be rare, has the ability that the monk gets of catching arrows. So I don't think it's too crazy to give something that is already of its rarity an additional ability. This is above its rarity and it's getting a couple of additional abilities. But again, because of the way bounded accuracy works and action economy with this reduction to damage, I do think it is scratching the surface a bit. I think it's passable as it is, but I will not say that this is like definitively legendary. And I think I will call it debatable with the reality that we are debating about it.
I don't think that you guys are crazy. I just am very committed to this staying +3. And like I said, I would change almost anything else about the shield
Aw.
to keep the +3. So, like, I get what you're saying when you say that as written, it's a little powerful for Legendary. Like, maybe too powerful? I don't think so, but
No.
maybe?
I think it's just top end legendary.
Yeah, but
I
like,
mean,
I'm
I
looking-
would even say that my ring is top end legendary because a ring of
I think I'd
invisibility
agree.
is
Yeah.
just invisibility, like normal visibility, action, bonus action, undo. And I gave it a bunch of other stuff because you're not technically invisible and incorporeal. You're kind of nerfed in that state in some ways and buffed in others. So it's kind of a status quo. It doesn't change the status quo too much, but I gave it other abilities as well, which I think makes it stronger than Ring of Invisibility by a little bit. So
my
I don't think there's
biggest
any problem. We're talking about top tier gameplay right now, where you can cast Wish. I don't think there's too much of an issue with this shield having a +3 in that situation.
Yeah.
You put it in context of the rest of the game.
That's fair. I will say, I was just looking at Tasha's because I was like, gee willikers, Billy, I wonder what a +3 shield, can Blade Singers use it? But no, it specifically says in their Blade song that they cannot use a shield to get the benefits of it. Because otherwise, remember how I got my fucking Blade Singer to have a 27 AC with the shield, without casting shield? Just imagine if they could just
Yeah,
use
but
a shield.
that's also a character where you fine-tuned it specifically and you had the benefit of being able to choose any magical weapons you want, any feats that you want. It wasn't built up over a campaign. You weren't under the scrutiny of a DM giving you whatever items they felt comfortable giving you. The reality of the situation is that when you're playing a D&D campaign and your DM gives you a homebrew item, it's because they gave you that item with the confidence that you're not going to break anything. Sometimes the DM's wrong, and that happens, which we might go into in a moment. We'll see. But
We're gonna go over it.
if you guys want to, we're our hour and a half already, but we do have that other one sitting at the bottom of the page here. If you guys wanted to talk about it,
I think
that's up to you
It's a
guys.
long-
I'm glad that Bulwark generated this much discussion because I came up with this on my lunch break today, and so I was like, oh man, I hope that they like it. I hope that it like gets us talking, and it definitely did.
I'm glad that mine didn't have much talking so that we could fit this talking in.
I was worried that mine was going to be either too little or too much. All right.
No, I'm
Just right.
I say, so did we have any final notes on this one? And did we want to move on to that last item?
I say we spend a little bit of time talking about it. I think we more or less kind of talk about what we saw in the campaign when it was used.
We didn't see much. It didn't really come up
Yeah.
that
I
much,
was gonna say,
honestly.
we saw very little, but I
It
would
was
like
still
to
in
pull
the
up
collection
description.
phase.
We could just
Yeah.
do surface level thoughts on it. We don't have to go
Yeah.
in depth.
I mean,
Surface
as-
level thoughts, like it's absurd.
So do we want to?
I'm
Yeah.
down.
Let's go.
All
for
right.
it.
All right. All right, Zach. How about you go ahead and read off the description for this legendary item that we did get in campaign before level 9, at least. I think we started with this item, to be clear. But
We get at like level 7.
so go ahead.
Yeah, buckle up. Orion's Essence Collector. It's a weapon, it's a longsword, it's legendary, and it requires attunement. This katana is inhabited by the great warrior Orion Stilvin. He was a valiant warrior who fought in a war long forgotten. He wielded this blade with great power and imbued a great deal of his own essence into it. So much so that when he died on the battlefield, his sword refused to let him die. Instead, it consumed its master's essence. Whenever you kill something with this katana, it lights up a bright white glow, and you can see the essence of the thing killed leave its body and collecting into the sword. This sword collects essence, and the more you get, the stronger abilities can be used. The first ability, ability 1, costs 5 essence. You swing the sword down, cutting through the air with great force, causing all creatures in a line in front of you up to 20 feet to make a dexterity saving throw or be sliced by your blow, dealing 3d8 plus character level radiant damage to all that failed and half as much on a success. Ability 2 costs 10 souls, or 10 essence. You either swing your sword in a slashing motion in front of you, letting out a great force in a 15-foot cone, or you put your blade to the floor and channel the energy into a 10-foot radius around you, causing a force to burst out of the ground. All creatures in range make a dexterity saving throw or be impacted by the blow, dealing 6d8 plus character level damage to all that failed and half as much on a success. Ability 3 costs 15 essence. You channel a very powerful amount of energy into the blade, and as you do so, you can choose one of the following effects from the chart below, and your sword also begins to glow for the next minute. All your attacks deal an extra 3d6 radiant damage. The abilities that you can use with this are: 1, you choose one creature within 60 feet of you. They must make a con save DC 18 or take 10d8 plus character level radiant damage, half as much on a success. You choose 2 creatures within 60 feet. They make a con save DC 18 or take 6d8 plus character level radiant damage or half on a success. You choose 3 creatures within 60 feet. They must make a con save DC 18 or take 3d8 plus character level radiant damage or half on a success. You can have up to 25 essence in the sword at one time.
Holy shit!
Woo!
That's certainly a fucking sword, man.
It's certainly a legendary item that was given to us at first level.
I think that this should probably be an artifact.
Yes, this is I would say definitely an artifact. It fits artifact in so many different ways as well. Just like not even just the effect, but like its lore, like what it is. Like
I will say though that unless you're getting killing blows on like most things you fight, unless you're spending essence, the sword does literally nothing. So it's very feast or famine. Like you're either getting absurd power out of it, or it's just a regular old longsword. Like
now if I remember correctly, we only got to see the first ability cast.
I believe so.
I thought that he used the second one once.
I don't think he ever got that many essence.
Yeah,
okay.
that was
I'll say that to Adam's point about it's feast or famine only if you kill things. Once the party discovers what this does, the party's gonna make sure that character gets the kills.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're playing in any scenarios where you're fighting a lot of mooks, you're gonna build up a lot of shit.
Now, something I do have a question about, and I think you answered this when we originally talked about this. I don't know how long ago, 2 months ago, something like that. When you were like, "Dude, I remember. Look at this insane bullshit that I used to make for you, that I made for you guys. Check this out." And like, we went through it. Remind me, if you get the killing blow with one of these effects, you just get that. You get the essence still, correct?
Yeah, it's just a killing blow.
Yeah.
So theoretically, oh wait, never mind.
If you kill 15 creatures on one turn, then yes.
Yeah, you recharge.
I forgot that the ability 3, that it was like, hey, let me pick you or pick you or pick you. I forgot that it was that, and it wasn't like this.
It's limited to a certain amount of people.
It's actually ability 2 that can hit the most people.
Yeah.
What I will say is that this weapon is ridiculous to give a first level character, is what happened. But if you give this to a 17th level character at the end of a campaign, it's not that busted. To be honest, the strongest single target damage you can do is 10d8 plus character level. That's like a 6th level spell.
Hold up.
But it also gives you, for the next minute, all of your attacks do an extra 3d6 radiant damage.
But if you're at that level, like a paladin already gets 1d8 to all of their attacks.
I was gonna say, you know how else I can get 3d6 damage on my attack? With a flame tongue and a fucking just a sword. Like flame tongue plus sword is 3d6. Like
I
didn't know higher level balancing when I made this. So
I do want to clarify.
I think it's good for 17th level. I don't think it's like low tier. It could even potentially, depending on how the gameplay plays out, be a high tier legendary item. but I think it's in the right area. I still think it could be an artifact. It might just be at that threshold.
Well,
But like,
honestly,
this isn't like game destroying, because this is just damage. This isn't like breaking the game, like decimate game breaking or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and also like the difference between legendary and artifact in a ton of cases just comes down to the lore. Like the difference between legendary and artifact is often that legendary items there might be more than one of it. Like whereas artifacts there's only one. Like no matter what, there's only one.
I think I would make this an artifact. I'm probably going to change it to that. I
Well,
think
then you
that's
would-
that better.
You would probably want to add like a couple more benefits to it, like so it's not like
Nah.
completely feast or famine. But I want to clarify to
Man, we
everyone.
really stuck onto that phrase, huh? After Adam said it.
I want to clarify to everyone, when Zach gave this in our campaign, it was just a regular old longsword flavored as a katana. This came out of the fact that one of our players and one of our friends drunkenly said one night, "Oh, it absorbs the essence of those that I kill." And then Zach here just thought,
This is
you know
happened.
what? Fuck it. Yeah, it does. And then essentially awakened the sword at 7th level. Now, 7th level is still really low
I
of a
think
level
7th level is perfect to get that.
to be giving a legendary, potentially artifact, magical weapon to the party. But it wasn't level 1 like Shawn's implying over here.
What we learned is that Zach doesn't like boss battles and loves mooks. So what he gave was an item that just kills all bosses at that level when it's charged, and you can recharge it immediately as you kill their mooks. That's what we learned.
I'm a boss that summons minions. Here's 4d4 skeletons. Oh no, they're all dead. Why is that sword glowing?
Yeah, I didn't look into it before I brought it here today. But if I was really balancing it, I'd probably make a limit on how many souls in a day or something. But I mean, the whole thought process was it was a guy using it in war. So like,
Yeah.
if you use this in a war situation, if you imagine a person using this in war, they
Yeah.
are this insane warrior, and that's exactly what the image was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, this is the perfect item to think of, like the fucking unstoppable single hero
Yep.
in a war who like just cuts down all of the demons and all of the evil what you want, because anything could be evil in most campaigns. I think people have kind of moved past alignment. I was gonna say orcs originally, but I was like, orcs cannot be evil. Why not?
Like
No, you guys
evil
are-
elves.
Yeah, evil elves. Ones with like fair skin too, and aren't living underground.
Yeah.
No, I think this sword doesn't break, like it doesn't break anything at the appropriate levels.
Yeah, I think if
Um,
you give it to somebody at like 15th level, you'd be cool.
Yeah, I think at last, like late 3rd tier, 4th tier item, it's not breaking too much.
This item would be great if you give it like at a time in a campaign for where like your characters are starting to really get powerful and they're starting to really feel confident, and you give one of the characters this sword, and then they have a couple more levels for it's like, oh, we're virtually unstoppable, and then you hit them like dead in the face with that kind of like, no, you guys really aren't as powerful as you think you are. And they're using this sword, but it's nowhere near. It can't keep up with whatever they're fighting. I think that would probably be one of the best uses for this sword, is hitting, getting that kind of like.
This would be a badass sword that you give a character in a situation where you're going to make them feel hopeless, and unbeknownst to them, they are going to activate this amazing ability in this item that they found, like this just random katana, this last-ditch effort to fight, and the sword just explodes the enemy. I do have a question, though, about this. What is essence, as far as the campaign was concerned? Was it their soul? Was it just like their life force?
It was more life force. It wasn't supposed to be soul.
Okay. Because that would bring a lot of questions like, can they become undead? Can they be resurrected? But yeah, that
Well,
makes sense.
it was supposed to not like take their soul because I wanted people to still be able to be resurrected and stuff like that.
Right.
It was just I used essence as like a different form of soul or life force that was unimpeding of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's perfect because there's like stealing souls brings a whole convoluted thing to the world of D&D.
Yeah.
Souls are
I didn't want
very
to do souls.
complicated.
I was gonna say, because if you killed someone wearing a ring of unyielding presence with a sword that seals their soul, you're gonna get fucked because you're not getting no souls back. I like it. I looking on it now with a little bit more experience and like in the context of these other legendary items, I'm like, this isn't as crazy as I thought it was back then. It's fun also to see like, you know, you got the typos in here, you got the awkward phrasing. Like this is I'm a DM. I'm doing my homebrew campaign for the first time ever.
Yeah.
My first time ever running D&D, and I just want to make cool shit. I don't care like about like, you know, if other people use it because this is just my homebrew campaign. I just need to make sense for me and my players. And I think the effects of this sword are pretty clear. By the way, it's written. But I like seeing this. I'm glad you didn't go back and like re-edit to make sure it like fit and stuff like that. It's cool to see that like, you know, the
No, it still reads well. It's not the way that you would want it to be for like to fit.
Yeah, no,
like,
what I'm saying is that it's still 100% clear what the fuck's going on here.
Yeah.
It's just that it obviously doesn't fit within like 5E's phraseology. I don't think that's a word. Is that a word? I don't know. I feel like
Phraseology is a word.
Was that word a meme at some point? I feel like that was a meme at some. It was a Ben Shapiro meme. He was saying phraseology a lot about something. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I like our assortment of items that we made here. You know, the grand diversity of items that we made here, and how they can be used. Makes you want to play a character who wields 2 shields.
Yes, do it.
You can attack with one of those shields.
Hold on, it's even better, Adam.
You could attune to all 3 of these and wield only one of them and get all of the other benefits at the same time.
It's even funnier because we were playing the Dark Souls board game the other night, and Shawn was just like, "I'm gonna walk around with 2 shields and punch
It
shit
worked.
with them."
It worked. Until Miguel killed us.
Until it worked. Until
Miguel.
But also, the sword and shield are just simply the greatest, you know, weapon pairing of all time. So it makes sense that we have 3 amazing shields and then just
Spear and shield
to go along with it.
Spear and shield. You've been defeated.
I can't hear you over sword and board.
So what is our objective for next week?
It's a great question. I guess I'll just go to the committee. Do you guys have any ideas for homework?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was completely shocked by the fact that I actually came up with for my original thought was I was gonna come up with a somewhat decent legendary item, and I came up with a good legendary item. So I have no clue. My expectations for what I can do are a lot higher than I originally thought.
Should it be earth spells?
Oh,
I don't know. We did a lot of spells.
we've done a couple of spells. I'm a little hesitant to go back to that well just so quickly.
What I was going to suggest was that we could come up with alternate class features.
That's awesome.
They came up with a couple, so like barbarians could, instead of increased movement, get something else. I don't remember, but like something like that. Something where like, okay, when you get this level, you could take the original feature, or you can take this one instead. I think we should come up with a couple of those.
I like that.
Explicitly replacement features. So, because a lot of those Tasha's things were just things that like you just get on top of what you already have.
I explicitly want it to be a replacement. You are replacing one feature of a class with another feature.
That's badass. I love it.
Kurt did say that a race feat.
A race feat is a fun idea, and feats was the thing. But then Adam said this, and I'm way more interested in doing this right now.
So we're just going to keep pushing back feats. We'll get there eventually, but
we'll get to feats eventually.
Miguel's saying to do feats though.
Well, I mean, these are kind of feats. These are like character feats almost.
Yeah.
God, I don't even know where
I
to
think-
start with this.
I think I like doing if we did feats, and then with this one, if we did multiple of these. So if we did like each person bought 3, because I don't know how much conversation we would generate with this.
3
Yeah, that's
feats?
no,
No.
the alternate class features.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because each of these class features is probably going to be like pretty short, like maybe 1 or 2 lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
but
we could do at least 2 each. We don't need to do 3 necessarily.
Yeah,
But I
just
think
come up
2
with a couple.
each should be the expectation.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you want to make it more, go ahead. Yeah, I'm 100% down for this. I love editing classes. I don't know if you guys know this. I've only
Yeah.
revised 2 of them, and I'm currently working possibly on another. I guess
Yeah.
the revisions for the sorcerer I came up with are just give them more metamagics and let the metamagic stack, which isn't really that much of a revision. It's just like they should just be doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this idea. So next week, does anybody have any conflicts? Anybody not going to be here? Do they know of?
Let me double check my
It's going to be July the 14th.
July 14th.
I might not.
Okay.
Because I am flying out next Thursday, and I'm going to be staying at my parents' house.
That's
So
fair. Yeah.
Sure.
So I potentially could be here. I don't know. I know that I'll have to.
You can just leave after this.
I could, yeah, but I'll also just swing by over, pick up Jenna.
Well, we can figure out the schedule afterwards. Like we can figure out the schedule off camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I guess next week, if you join us, we are going to be doing class feature variants, which I am very excited about. I love doing these, and I love that Tasha introduced them. So until next time, I'm going to do the cheesy sign off I gave everybody before the thing. I don't think Justin was here for this.
what happened?
But
What am I being included in on?
what's lost must be found, and what's found must be remembered. See you next week.